Season 5, Episode 1. The episode where there's enthusiasm, there's belief, and that can come to a rip-roaring stop in a week's time, or we can keep the good times rolling. We'll choose the latter for today, sprinkled in with a bit of smidge of moaning. I'm sure it'll be there from both sides. But Morg, for the first time in season 5, play the intro.
Hello ladies and gents, and welcome along to the Season 5 premiere of the Football Booth podcast. My name is Fedden, and join alongside me once again, I'm happy to welcome back two wonderful gentlemen, starting off with a man who is certainly going to be full of beans tonight after a 3-week layoff. Mayhem, how are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. I'm very, very good.
I see the sun shining in your background, I'm guessing it's shining down on you. Obviously, there's a lot to look forward to. Not on your wallet, sure, in a way, but...
No, it's not. The sun's shining. Good times. We're going to eat bro. It's a little bit overcast in the picture. I think that sums it up pretty well. Because there's just a smidgen of usual repetitive shit that we've got to get out of our system and moan about again. But it wouldn't be a transfer window, and it just wouldn't be Celtic things if we just didn't have to say, fuck's sake, Keita, Laurel. It just wouldn't be a thing, you know what I mean? So, we'll get onto that. But for the most part, we don't have to indulge in anything else. We can stop celebrating tries, although congratulations to the British and Irish Lions beating Australia. I mean, they're sixth ranked in the world.
They did.
They're sixth ranked in the world and pretty dog shit, and you made an absolute fucking real game of it on Saturday. But Hugo Keenan, what a boy. So we can stop caring about egg ball and all the other sports that wrap around, because in the distance, Flag Day is on the horizon. Football is back. Thank fuck.
Yeah, well, it's good to see that the spirits are somewhat high, and of course we'll get on to, well, not quite. Let's try to steer away from the name of Peter Laurel, because of course it feels like rinse and repeat from the last God knows how many seasons. But
unfortunately,
yeah, I know, and hold your thought for a moment. But we got to welcome back as well, Mr. Wikipedia himself. Gondor, how are you doing, mate? I know you don't like that name already, don't you?
No. I was going to say I'm doing all right. But please, if you're going to use the websites I use, get it right.
I'm joking.
It's transfer marked for the most part.
Transfer marked, yeah. Okay, yeah. All right. So you got two sources now. Well, look, boys. Look, it's great to be back. Of course, we had a few weeks off in the month of July, and there's been a lot that's happened. Exhibit A. If I just adjust my hat a little bit, had a.
Did you do much?
I took a little flight
just
over.
Stayed at home.
Just nipped home for about 2 days in total. Really, like I arrived in the evening and then left in the morning after the Wednesday I spent there. That was the full day I spent there. Went to see a local band there. It was a nice turnout. About 87,000 people were there, and had a really nice time. There was a lot of laughs, a lot of tears that were shed, and it was a very emotional.
Did you go to see?
Band called, who are they called? Oasis. I know I know it's back the front for me, but I don't know if you heard.
I just thought that was your favourite drink.
I mean, I did help myself whilst I was in Greg's. Funny enough, to a nice beverage of Oasis along with my chicken.
Fucking everything Oasis, for fuck's sake, for you, yeah. Oasis.
Everything in Manchester was Oasis. They named an Adidas store after Oasis. They named bars and pubs after Oasis. Honestly, like, if I was to describe the Oasis gig, it was like no pun intended here. it was like the city were united. It was as one. Everyone was friends. Everyone was family. We all looked after one another. We helped each other, and I think that's what made it so special being there. And it almost feels like you come out of Heaton Park at the end of the night, and you're like, well, I've completed music concerts. I don't need to go to another one anymore. And I think that was so special about it. And then
Strange as such camaraderie, due to the fact there hasn't been a gig like this, due to the fact that two people couldn't get on for so long. But
brothers specifically as well.
all right, but do you know what? It's not a music podcast, and thank fuck, because I can't actually physically listen to any more utter dross about Oasis. Yes, they got back together. They sang a few songs. Please, for the love of fuck, store it in your wank bank, and can we never talk about it again? Because I can't take it.
Shall we talk about Morgan's biggest takeaway from that entire experience then? Because I travelled down with him.
Go on. Yeah.
I travelled down with him to Gothenburg, where he flew out from, and I stayed in Gothenburg. And he comes back, and we go out to the pub, and the first thing he does is he reaches into his pocket, and he pulls out a beer mat that he had pilched from a random pub in Manchester.
Not a random pub. You're talking about the almighty Nancy Spain's, mate. That was where the pre-party was at. Don't ever call it a fucking random pub. That is an offence to all Mancunians.
So, random pub in Manchester. A random pub in Manchester. And that beer mat was his life for the next 24 hours. Even on the train back,
I've still got it here. I'm using it now as we speak. Here, Nancy Spain's, mate. Here it is.
You'd think this cunt was fucking born and bred in fucking Moss Side. Jesus Christ.
Well,
moving on.
Next episode, he's going to say he's moved on to being a City supporter.
No. We ain't going that far. No. Wait. Okay, you're trying to burn me already. Well, evidently you two are full of fucking rainbows and sunshine.
Yeah, well, you could have told me don't look back in anger, but either way, let's flip it up more. I want to hear about how you're feeling. Look, start of the season is coming. We're hearing that Gareth Bale's officially made a bid. Vincent Tan's pretending like the dumb kid in school. What bid? We've not had a bid. We're seeing all sorts of youngsters being named. Eli King looking like the standout in pre-season. He needs to be a standout because no transfer business. Rumours that Kiana Tete is leaving due to the fact that he's doing his best impression of Casper the Friendly Ghost. And Salek is the new number 9, formally obviously replacing Keon. And a couple of potential injuries coming off the back of the 2-2 draw there in pre-season as well. Nothing that seems too strenuous. I think Alec Robinson said it's a sort of a nasty cut on his shin. And Davis, who we know is pretty much made of chocolate. Potential strain, but not too much doubt that he'll be available in some capacity come the weekend. So with all that in mind, new manager, nil new players in terms of transfers. Obviously, there's been a few outgoings. Obviously, fresh off the back of the festival of the summer, you've landed back and the season is now upon you. How are you feeling going into this?
I mean, I think you've hit a lot of things. You've hit the nail on the head with a lot of those factors that you just mentioned there. Like, obviously, our summer has been completely surrounded by a potential takeover deal by Gareth Bale. There's also been a lot of talk surrounding other potential suitors to take over the club, and the name that comes to mind is Gary Otto, who is a co-owner of Sutton United, South African, who has shown heaps of interest taking over a majority stakehold in Cardiff City. And it's, again, a lot of it, when I read it, it's all on Twitter. It's all something you've got to take with a pinch of salt. It's all from different sources where people say, "Oh yeah, this is a reliable source. This is a reliable source. Don't trust this. Don't trust that." And I mean, I said it, last season, where it's going to take a long time for someone to be able to, take the ball by the horns and really steamroll ahead in terms of clearing the debt that we have, if they want to, if they're willing to, or if they are waiting to hold out on any potential dealings regarding court cases. Like, it's a very complex situation with Cardiff right now. Vincent Tan has got 117 million debt that he needs to pay off. He's got a Emiliano Sala case that he needs to conclude, and so with that being said, like, it's something that I really have done my best to put on the back burner and focus on what has happened during this pre-season. Regarding this pre-season, the transfer ingoings and outgoings, there's not been much productivity. The only name that I've heard that's been mentioned is a goalkeeper from FC Copenhagen, English goalkeeper called Nathan Trott, who was previously on the books at West Ham, was playing at FC Copenhagen last season, and reports have said that we are close to agreeing a loan deal for the season, and if we were to achieve promotion, there was a obligation to buy him for 1.8 million euros. That's the reported fee. Any outgoings? There hasn't been a lot. Obviously, we had Callum O'Dowda, who moved on to. He went to Ferencváros. I'm glad you got the pronunciation down to a point.
Because we played them about 14 times in the Champions League.
Yeah, I was going to say they've been a name that I've seen pop up in a European competition somewhere. And so he completed a deal there, undisclosed fee, but it seems like... It feels like if you get a transfer fee at Cardiff, then it's a positive. But at the same time, I was very indifferent about it, because obviously he was, I think he was he's 30 years old now. You're not going to get a lot out of him now, but at the same time, he was a mainstay player for us. Like, I think he was one of our most consistent performers last season. But
I think he could have done a job in League One. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely.
Never know
without a doubt.
we'll never know the fee, obviously, because it's undisclosed. But
Yeah,
he's going to a team that will. I would imagine they'll be in Champions League qualifiers. So the potential there to,
at the very
to
least, he'll play
Champions League football.
Conference League, I imagine.
Yeah.
Again, I think he's found himself in a good spot right now at a side who are competing in European competitions, and all the best to him. Like I said, he was a great servant to us. He gave us some fantastic moments with last ditch goals against Ipswich 2 seasons ago, last season against Norwich, and he goes with my best wishes, and I wish him all the best. So, but that does give an opportunity for some young players who we've had in the books for a long time now, who have been away on loan, the likes of Isaac Davis, again, like you said, glass bones, paper skin. When he does play, he can be a real factor for us and a real impact. Eli King is a big name as well that you mentioned, and of course has come up in headlines in recent weeks, and who was on loan last season at 2 different clubs, I believe. I know Stevenage was one of them, and looks to be someone who a lot of the Cardiff faithful would put a lot of positive reviews in, and looks to be could be a real player for us next season if he's given the opportunity. And that always, that's always the question with us. If they get the opportunity, will they deliver? Eli King, I strongly believe, will be one of those players who can deliver, and he's shown that in pre-season. I know the results haven't looked as pretty as we'd like to. Like, we haven't lost any games, but there's been some games where we haven't won either, and those have been draws against the likes of Notts County, most recently QPR behind closed doors, and it feels like the novelty of not seeing games out has not been shaken off, and that's a real cause for concern for me, as it's been a horrible habit of ours for the last God knows how many seasons. And with that being said, I'm really hoping that Brian Barry Murphy can bring some new faces in as soon as possible, just to give us a bit of an uplift in terms of that mentality, and give us a bit of excitement and a bit of drive behind us to push us forward in this League One campaign. We go into next Saturday. It feels like it's come around quite quickly. We open up the season against Posh at home. Early kick-off. We're on the box, and hope, fingers crossed, that we can get it on TV in the pub and we can watch it together, and it could be an enjoyable experience for us, and it could be the start of an enjoyable season. And again, this all comes from, wishful thinking, but at the same time, it's hard to really push by, the traumatic. I wouldn't say traumatic, but you understand where I'm coming from, where you've seen it so many times before in the last 4 or 5 seasons, if that, where we've got to see out results. If we're in a winning position, we've got to be strategic. We've got to have a plan that allows us to see games out, and that's what I'm hoping for from Brian Barry Murphy the most, is game management, because we haven't had that for a long time right now. And I think that's where I stand with it at the moment. It's a bit of a bipolar feeling. There's a sense of excitement that football's back, but then you've always got that sense of being let down,
All right. I don't think. I think that there's a lot of things at the moment around Cardiff for there to be a buzz about. That's all dependent on how you start the season. The likes of Kean Ashford coming into the team, Isaac Davis, Eli King, whispers I think I've seen about Will Fish potentially towards the back line as well. Another youngster I think that's on the books.
Dylan Lawler.
Yeah,
Centre back,
he's extremely young as well.
He was given the opportunity against Villa in the FA Cup last season and made a real intent.
He's literally 16, 17 years old, so that would be a huge gamble. But as much as that positivity's there, that doesn't really lend itself to being tactically savvy, seeing games out if you're playing 17-year-olds and 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds through the game. So I think probably with that foundation in League One, it is absolutely fine if you trust them. But I think probably what Barry Murphy will want, I suspect, maybe I'm wrong, but he probably wants a few more senior heads to kind of come in and say, right, look, these guys are going to do the business, right? Yusuf Salak up top, Davis, Kean Ashford, these boys are going to go and dazzle. All right, I want you to come in here, because when we're 1-0 up, and we're thinking about going straight back up to the Championship here, right? That's where you need to pull us together, or maybe a centre back, right? We need to see this out, boys. Let's get a little bit tighter and a little bit grittier.
We need leaders. We need spokespeople.
I would say, like, looking at your pre-season, you're right. It is very much you need to learn to hold the line, because in the last 4 games in pre-season, you scored 9 goals. The problem is you conceded 6 as well, and it is shoring up that person. And as Joel said, I think a centre back, a slightly more experienced centre back, is probably the way to look. And I know you said about the goalkeeper, looks pretty good stat wise. Doesn't have an awful lot of experience though. I mean, he only
very
played
young though, isn't he, Nathan?
He only played 17 games this season for Copenhagen in the league.
Yeah, I read somewhere that I think it was around after February that he'd lost his first place spot. But we need leaders in and around every position. It's fantastic to see that Yusuf Salek's been given the number 9 shirt, and I hope that really does solidify his position in the side and his place, that he's here to stay. And of course, like the injuries around the team at the moment, like it's shit to see that Isaac Davis was took off at half time against Notts County. Alex Robertson is suffering with a calf issue, and again, they're going to be very instrumental to us next season. And we got to do everything we can to keep them fit, but at the same time, with a few additions in every area, particularly in defence, in midfield, and someone, as long as we don't lose someone like Salek, maybe a striker, but I feel there's improvements to be made all across the field completely.
I think if you're going to go and sign an extremely young goalkeeper, if that is to be the way that you're going to go, then I think you need some kind of leadership. And if you look at, let's take Birmingham out of the mix here, because you're not going to go and spend 50 million on Jay Stanfield and buy a Premiership player. But if you look at what Wrexham done, they weren't going out and getting, the huge names, but like Ollie Palmer, coming and do a job.
Yeah.
Stephen Fletcher, James McLean, hardly like when you're signing them, you're hardly going, oh fucking hell, he's going to tear that league
But they're
apart.
characters, aren't they? They're characters. They're big spokespeople,
It's solid players that will, really do a job. And I think that if you drop a couple in there, I mean, we covered it at the end of last. I'm just amazed that you just decided with the season that you're going into that you didn't take Joe Rules up and pen him for another year. It seemed like a no-brainer going into. And look, it may be the club offered him something and he wasn't interested in it, who knows? But he seemed like the absolute perfect person to carry this. Even though you're only going to play 15 games, but you're only going to start 15 games. You're going to come on a sub as the rest, but you're going to keep the energy. You're going to keep the atmosphere in the dressing room. You're going to drive the boys. You're going to set the standards in training. I don't know. That seemed like a no-brainer. But...
Yeah, I completely agree. I think he should have been kept on at the club regardless. Like whether it was a playing role, whether it was a coaching role, whether it was working with the kitchen staff. I don't care. I would have kept him. I would have kept him at the club because he's been our longest serving player, to my knowledge. He's been at the club for the last 10, 15 years, and I think it would have been a given to keep him on for another season or so. Like again, I don't know what Joe Rules' aspirations are after his playing career. I'm not too sure if he's going to go into coaching or he can go to punditry. This is the thing. Like we don't know what goes on behind closed doors. But yeah, I would have done everything in my power to give him the reassurances that he would have wanted to keep him at the club. And yeah, it was sad to see him go. It really was. There was part of me, there was, funny enough, there was a Wrexham signing that stood out to me. And, feel free to disagree with me. And I know me and you, Gondor, spoke about him earlier. But, obviously being linked with a goalkeeper right now, there was a goalkeeper that made the move to Wrexham on a free transfer. He was someone who's been, at each club he's been at, he's always been second or third choice. But I felt like if he came down to Cardiff, he may have made that push to be number one, and that is Danny Ward. And again, being a Welsh international, he's in his peak 20s now. I think it would have been a fantastic opportunity for him to really push to have a number one spot at a club, because he didn't have that at Liverpool, he never had that at Leicester, and there's no guarantees he's going to get it at Wrexham.
I don't think he will get it at Wrexham because they signed that youngster, didn't they, from Arsenal, I think.
Yeah, they signed you're right, yeah. I can't remember his name, but they did sign a goalkeeper from Arsenal.
And I think they're all behind him and all in on him. Who knows, though, he may get massively found out in the Championship and Danny Ward comes in. But yeah, I think that those. I don't think you need mass. I don't think you need open heart surgery. You have allowed a lot to walk away from the club, and retained sort of what you needed to. I think a few more experienced heads puts you in a position of strength. And look, you're going to find out, come Saturday afternoon, what that position of strength is. Because Peterborough had a terrible season last year, but normally, they're one of these gateway clubs. They're always in and around the top six.
Yeah, they were in the
And I'm sure they're going to give you
playoffs
a real
two
yardstick.
seasons ago. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're probably going to give you a good yardstick of, where is. And look, it may take a few games for these youngsters to bed in. It's one thing playing against Notts County in pre-season. It's a very different thing opening day on the Cardiff City Stadium when you're expected to go out and win nearly every single football match that you play in the league this season. So that it may take a few games for them to kind of get their heads around and settle into. So we're not going to learn definitives come Saturday, but you may get a good yardstick. You go out and thump Posh 4-0. Happy days. It's a boring 0-0 draw. You move on. If you get thumped 4-0, then perhaps the activity in the market might just be a bit swifter. But I think we've seen enough from, especially the likes of Kian Ashford, Yusuf Salek, Alec Robertson. I think he'll probably be back. I think they said it was just a nasty gash on his shin, so get a plaster on it, son. You can run it off.
Yeah.
And big seasons for even for players like Joel Bagan, Perry NG. Like, come on, son. Perry, you need to have a fucking season, mate. Like, where have you been? I mean, it's
This
time
is
to
it. Like,
step up.
it's a great opportunity for the squad to show a bit of grit, a bit of hunger, a bit of desire, and most of all, a point to prove. Whether you're young or going into your late 20s, and in the side, you got Perry and G, who was kept out of of the side for 90% of the season last season by Andy Rinomota. He's moved on elsewhere. I think it's a great opportunity to redeem himself and to re-establish himself as a well recognised right back who you'd see from the first and the second tier that we actually Cardiff got a player on their hands here. And then of course with the youngsters, it's more than ever for them to have a point to prove. And yeah, we've got to approach this Peterborough game to show like we've come down, but we're not here to stay. And we know Peterborough, who are a well-established League One side. They know the ins and outs of the league, and they won't be a pushover regardless whatsoever. And we've got to match them and exceed them in terms of quality and performance, and that's what I hope from the players come Saturday with the youngsters, and then the likes of Perry and G who's come in, Joel Bagan it feels like he's a player who feels like he's been young forever. He's probably about 25 now, but I think he's someone who needs to really solidify himself and make that left back position his own. And so, yeah, no, there's a lot of fingers crossed that the boys can put up a strong and positive performance at the very least come Saturday, and hope that seeing a few faces come into the side who have not been given the opportunity prior to this Saturday. And yeah, like it's again, like, your mind takes yourselves. It takes me to different places at the very least, and it's going to be a cloud of not knowing what's going to happen. It's the fear of the unknown, really. But I've got to be positive. I've got to be upbeat. I've got to have my faith in Brian Barry Murphy that he can really produce an exceptional season for us, and that's the best approach we've got to take as fans. That's it. But let's transition over. I could sense a little bit of frustration in you, Mayhem, as Celtic's pre-season has undergone, and looking at the transfer activity is again what we feared the most, but what we expect the most in some way or another. You did announce 4 signings prior to us going on holiday, and since then you've signed 1 forward in a familiar market that you've been to, in the form of Shin Yamada from the J2 League. Shin Yamada, I don't know how you pronounce it, but then you've had some positive performances in pre-season. Of course, you beat Newcastle by 4-0, but then, of course, a week later you succumbed to a 5-1 defeat against Ajax. But I just want to know overall your thoughts of the transfer activity and the assessment, the evaluation over the pre-season going into your game on Sunday, your season opener against St Mirren, I believe it is.
Yep.
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Mayhem?
Yeah, I
Just
don't
leave
want
it at that. Yeah.
I want to start off, too downbeat, but it's a lack of ambition. I don't know if it's because Brendan's in the last year of his contract and the board doesn't know if he's staying. But even then, how are you going to? What's the bigger incentive to stay doing fuck all in the market or going to buy some players? That doesn't really make any sense. I don't know if it's the future prospects of the SPFL and the fact that in a couple of years, even winning the league may only put you in a position to qualify for the Conference League. Are we trying to bank what we have so that we're not in financial difficulties? But again, you're sort of stunting yourself there, because if that's the case, surely you want to capitalise and make the Champions League as many times as you can, and rinse that cash cow for everything it's got until it's gone. So yeah, I mean, if you look at the signings, Katie aside, and obviously that was done on a pre-contract, we didn't have to pay a fee for, and I think Kieran Tierney was very happy to come back up the road, and there wasn't too much persuasion done there, and otherwise I think we would have found a way to fuck that up. Benjamin Nygren, don't really know much about him. Cheap again, operating in that market, and look, we've had success in that market. Dembele was cheap, Matt O'Reilly was cheap, so that's not to say that that's not a place where we can find good players. But Callum Osmond barely kicked a ball, but he's up the road. Ross Doohan, he's a third choice, just slots in where Scott Bain would have been. I don't think we'll see all that much of him. With Sinisalo, I think we'll see more of him through the season in the cup competitions. I don't think we'll see too much of Ross Doohan unless there's injuries. Then with Inamura, looked decent in pre-season, probably more than what Brendan expected. If you think about the comments that he made when he first came in, basically he signed and Brendan went, "This guy's not going in the first team," and he's looked like he could easily be in the first team. So I think he's come in and probably surprised Brendan. And then obviously Shin scored the penalty in the last against El Fatih or whatever the Saudi club was that we beat in our last.
Al Ali. You won
Yeah.
the penalties. Yeah.
So that was the last one. Scored the winning penalty. Looked okay. And didn't really get to see much of him. But again, we're operating in this. Like, how many times can you go back to the same well and expect to find a Kyogo, a Maeda, a Hatati? Within that market, we've also had boys like Kwon, that's thankfully fucked off now to Nantes. We had the centre back
I saw that.
a centre back whose name escapes me, but was Kobayashi, utterly dog shit. Yang. We're already 3 for 3 here, and we could easily dig out a few more of this market that we've gone into, and they've been utter shit shows. Who, Shinya Yamada, he reminds me a wee bit of him. And what the fuck did he do? Not a great deal. So, yeah, the business has been underwhelming. There feels like a lack of ambition. It feels like we're being safe, which I don't think is a position that we can sort of go for. Look, they may get all their business wrong. They may have signed 7 duds across the city, but they are signing players and they are trying to make moves. I don't think we can play this as safe as what we had, especially when we know we need a striker, we need a 9. We probably now need a winger with Nicolas Kühn going to Como. We need a centre back. These are things that we just have not addressed. Narowski's gone to Hanover, Lagerbielke to Braga, and it just feels like. And we're going into Saturday. Cameron Carter-Vickers isn't going to be ready. AJ isn't going to be ready. So that realistically means we're going to play with Austin Trusty and potentially Stephen Welsh as a centre back partnership. Probably at some point Stephen Welsh will dislocate his shoulder because that's his favourite move, and then Anthony Ralston at right back. It absolute beggars belief that we're in this position.
Yeah,
and we haven't. If you don't prepare properly, prepare to fail. Fail to prepare to fail, because that's just ridiculous to put yourself in that position. Brendan's coming out saying that we need bodies. It's clearly, we need quality is what he wants. We need quality in the squad. We've lost a ton of goals and assists in Nicolas Kühn. We haven't replaced that. We've lost goals in Kyogo. We still haven't replaced that. Who knows? If Callum Osmond or Yamada or Yamada Shin will perform anywhere near the levels that we need, but they don't feel like replacements for a player at Kyogo's level and a player of Nicolas Kühn's level. Like, he was fantastic for the first half of the season and pretty much put us in an unassailable lead in terms of the league. Even the links. I seen that we were linked with a loan deal for the Man City youngster. I think it was Jemiah Simpson Pusi, who played. Look at the face you're pulling.
Oh, centre back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Played
No,
for City
he made like 2 or 3 appearances last season. Yeah.
In the made some Champions League appearances for him, made some league appearances. I've seen that we're
Get him on Passay Patrol. Yeah.
we're linked with a loan deal, but it can't always be the same thing. It can't always be we need a player. Let's run to the City group and hope they can loan us a fucking player, which seems to be Celtic's fucking trump card. We're stuck. Can the City group give us a loan player? And I've seen that we've been linked with Moyovsky. Like, why didn't we just do this transfer when he was at Aberdeen?
Yeah.
That's who
No,
we're
exactly.
linked with.
Yeah.
Like, what is the recruitment team here? We've chosen not to do it while he's at Aberdeen because we didn't want to pay 5 million. So what the fuck do you think we'll pay this La Liga team? Do you think they're just going to let him go for? No, of course, you're going to have to pay the same shit. You just didn't want to pay.
Didn't he go to Girona as well or something? He went
Yeah,
to a
someone
team
like
that
that.
was like, in the top half of the La Liga anyway. Like, he got a really good move from Aberdeen initially.
Yeah, so it all feels a bit underwhelming. I feel like we say this every time there's a transfer market. There's time left in the window. Blah 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 blah. Fuck Peter Laurel.
Well, this is it, mate. Like, it just screams out complacency. Like, I think it just feels like, regardless if you get a domestic treble, double, or even if you just pick Rangers to the title, like, Peter Laurel has this approach where he's obviously feeding down to Brendan Rodgers and going like, well, there is some money to spend, even though we've made 16 million on Nicolas Kühn, who again had his best season of his career at Celtic last season. Like, oh well, we'll give you this much, and you can explore the markets that again possess so much obscurity to fans on the outside, and again, like you can't have that approach. And for us as football fans to read them saying like Celtic have agreed a fee for Shinya Yamada, like, how is that meant to add any reassurance whatsoever?
We're just throwing the hook out into a massive ocean, hooking one of them and hoping that we land the big fish, because it's happened before. Yes, we got Maeda. Yes, we got Kyogo. Yes, we got Hatate. Like, yes, it's happened before. So maybe it will happen again. But there's not even any link. We're linked with a winger from Go Ahead Eagles in the Netherlands.
I saw that
Uh,
early
and we're
today.
just
Yeah.
sounds like we're fucking penny pinching. Like we're just low ball offers that they're just laughing us out of the place with. So that seems unlikely. And nothing really that gets you thinking, oh yeah, that's a good bit of business there. We need to get that business done. And whether or not you sit there and you say, right, Adam Eder, he wasn't good enough last season, might be paid whatever 9 million for him. The guy bagged 20 fucking goals,
This is
right?
it. And
If
that's deemed as an
if
underwhelming season for him, you know?
if Shin Yamada comes in and bags 20 goals, we'll be fucking laughing,
Yeah.
right? And everyone will be fucking all over the place, right? But Arnie Engels, record signing, right? People, not overly impressed with him. But we brought these players in. Adam Eder scored massive goal. All right, ultimately we did fuck all at Villa Park in the end, but he scored massive goals there. He scored goals in the Champions League. He scored goals throughout the league campaign. We were a game away from another treble. We went to the latter stages of the Champions League, right? And these players played nearly every minute or contributed in nearly every game. Right, that's the level of. If they have a shit season, if Adam Eder has a shit season, he scores 20 goals because you spend 9 million. Now maybe we can't go and do that every single summer. That's fine. We can't go and spend 9 million on one player and 11 million on another. That's not a feasible policy for Celtic to operate within that window, right? But we can definitely go out and spend around the £5 or £6 million mark. We can definitely bring in that calibre of footballer instead of pissing about. But Benjamin Nygren may come in and be a fantastic player. He may be an absolute steal for 1.5 million. But I'm sick of operating in this fucking window. We're a Champions League team, right? Well, we certainly were last season. That was going up against Bayern Munich, and we was within a couple of minutes of taking them into extra time, and we're fishing around trying to pick up players, freebies off of fucking Fulham and 1.5 million. The policy is in the bin. It's gone, right? You can talk about money all you want. The season ticket prices have gone up. You're trying to charge folk 90 quid for a fucking top. You're pumping out 3 tops again, right? The third one is the most stinking thing I've ever seen in my life. Right, Adidas can't seem to fucking deliver a nice kit for us, but they just seem to
Because they're worried about
push out
making fucking Oasis merch. But yeah, carry on.
push out push out screamers for everyone else. Yeah, the transfer business hasn't been great,
No.
but
It's shit. It's
we are.
shit though, man. It's shit to hear because you see these names all the time, and then it feels like when you're leading the way, it's like okay, we can again like just throw a fishing rod out into the big ocean and see what we can hook. And then you've got again, I
What's the
don't like
point
to
of
make the
selling?
comparison, but you've got like Rangers who are bringing in names that are a little bit more well known. Like the name that comes to mind is like Max Aarons, for example, who Russell Martin has brought in for Rangers. And you look at all these names that Celtic are linked with, and again, there's one or two that will stand out. But then they bring in some from the J League or the Dutch second division. I don't get it.
Like I'm looking at a couple of paper talk rumors, obviously, but the three that have come around in the last 8-9 days, according to this, are Jacob Broim.
Yeah, that's the boy from Go Ahead Eagles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Andre Bakinin.
I think he's another winger. I think.
Yeah, no, he's a defensive midfielder. He's from
You've just made 16 million on Nicolas Kühn, for Christ's sake.
But this guy is from the Super League in Serbia, FK Kukariki. And then the other one is
Produce good wonder kids. I'll give them that.
And the other one is Giuseppe Ambrosino.
Giuseppe Ambrosino,
from Napoli. To be fair.
Yeah, he's a striker. I think
he's a centre forward. Yeah.
But the club have got to be executing these deals, man.
I don't get what the policy is. I don't understand what the recruitment method is. I don't. Even if you're scared that Brendan Rodgers isn't going to be here next season, surely the policy should be to go and get the best players in order
Build,
to produce the best team.
build the
Celtic
team.
are the
Build the team.
priority. The squad are the priority because they're the ones who are going to get the results on the board, who are going to retain the Scottish League title, potentially go on, get a domestic double, treble, compete in Europe. That's it's just the model, isn't it?
And look, we're not in the Champions League. We've a qualifier at the end of August. We've got to get through that in order to make the
Yeah,
league phase.
yeah.
No, but we're again doing what we've done so many times and rolling the dice on these qualifiers that can be extremely tricky. Instead of just doing some business early, making ourselves, we'll be huge favourites going because obviously the way that the draw is, we're seeded in the draw thanks to events that happened at the end of last season. So we're going to be favourites no matter what. But instead of making yourself a real heavy favourite by going and doing some big business, we're flirting with potentially not making the Champions League, and then you lose out on bags and bags of money because you
Yeah.
didn't invest. But look, the upside is that KT's back. That's a massive upgrade. Football's coming back. We have got rid of, the likes of Lager Bielka, Quan. They've moved on, freed up some wages. They needed to move on. There's loan deals apparently in the works for Lewis Palmer and Tilio. So again,
Well, Tilio's looking to move on permanently, isn't he? Finally.
hopefully, I think it might be a loan with an obligation. I'm not sure. Maybe it is a permanent deal. I think it's to Rapid Vienna. But
Yeah.
we just need to get these boys out and
Good job, Noel.
and get.
Yeah, I heard that a mile away.
So
Dickheads riding around the streets.
Man, it's just here. It's like fucking Silverstone in the background with you, mate.
It's like some 15-year-old on a moped with his fucking exhaust buffed up to make it sound like a superbike.
No, he's just trying to escape his uncle. But anyway, carry on.
But yeah, hopefully, we'll put in a real strong performance on Sunday, and we can all be a bit more relaxed going into the season. Looks like James Forrest is probably going to start out wide, which is just
He's
crazy.
still going.
One more year.
One more year.
James Forrest on the wing, 2025. You gotta fucking love it.
I mean,
5 in a row.
This could be his opportunity to do for Celtic what all the youngsters have to do for Cardiff. Solidify his spot in the team, actually have a decent season.
Well, if you line up all the youngsters at Cardiff with James Forrest, I guarantee none of them will last as long as he did. I mean, I think the only one that came close to James Forrest at Celtic that did at Cardiff was Joe Rolls, and that was it.
Yeah, he's been here a long time. So hopefully we'll put in a performance. It'll be nice to have football back. Let's leave all the. Hopefully, I think we just make a rule that I don't talk about any more transfer policy shit for the next few pods unless we get to the back end of August and we haven't signed anyone. At which point we have a real rant. But yeah, we'll just discuss anyone that comes in and comes out, and we'll leave a very repetitive opinion in episode 1 and not carry it any further forward. But yeah, St Mirren and then Falkirk in the cup, which is a repeat of last year's quarterfinal. So a nice easy draw there. Happy days. They only took the league twice against us last season, so we've had a nice easy start to life in the cup. But it'll be interesting to see life post Nicolas Kühn and potentially going into Brendan's last season. But I don't think, as long as he doesn't sneak out the back door and fuck off to some Premier League team that's battling in 15th, then, I think if he gets the end of his contract here and he says, right, actually this project isn't going anywhere because, you just don't invest, you do the same shit over and over again and you just tell me bullshit lies.
Yeah.
I don't think anyone could be too
Peter
too
Laurel,
harsh
it's you again. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think anyone can be too harsh on him.
Do you think it was good transfer business letting go Nicolas Kühn to Como for 16 million?
I think we probably would have wanted more for him.
Yeah.
I think Nicolas Kühn wanted the move, and probably, we haven't probably been told publicly how much he was pushing for that move. I think his head was turned, and at that point, you're in a real weaker position. We've obviously we know how football works these days. Agents are in contact with players long before they ever get, or clubs are in contact with players' agents long before they ever get in contact with the club.
Tottenham,
We see
Morgan
that.
Gibbs White.
Obviously, Alexander Isak, that all of a sudden is throwing his toys out the pram because he clearly knows Liverpool want to sign him, and Liverpool aren't pushing that unless they know that obviously Isak wants to move. So obviously Nicolas Kühn wanted to move. We were weakened in that position, and we've managed to bring in £16 million that we're not going to spend. So yeah, we'll see. I don't think he was particularly great towards the back end of it, from January onwards. You could have sort of taken him in and out of the team. I don't think it would have made a massive difference. He was absolutely electric in the first half of the season, though. So, those numbers over the entirety of the season will be difficult to replicate and replace, especially knowing that Jota sustained a real bad injury that will keep him out for a portion of the start of the season. So, yeah, we've got some stuff that we need to get done in order to put ourselves in a position to have the best start. And obviously, towards the end of at the back end of August, obviously with the first derby as well, so you don't have to wait long before you get a real examination domestically.
Nah, that's it, mate. Like, yeah, I always forget about the Jota injury as well. Like, obviously right at the end there, and again, that's going to be a huge gap in the side coming into the opening weeks of the season, and that just again, like, it just adds like more pressure, like where there hasn't been someone that has been brought in, not only for Kühn, but like with Jota still on the sidelines going into the opening time of the season. I don't get it.
And let's be honest, right? We obviously knew Nicolas Kühn was leaving. Right? We said
we said this, didn't we? Yeah.
We said it, and we're not the fucking football club, so they must have known that Nicolas Kühn was leaving. They knew that Jota had this injury, and we sit here days away from the start of the season without those. It's just a complete and utter failure by the recruitment team again in order to get players in within sufficient time in the correct areas to allow us to attack the start of the season. I think we'll be fine against St Mirren. They've had a couple of fantastic seasons back to back. They will be hard to break down. Obviously they'll be up for it. It's first game of the season. I do think we'll be grand. It may not be scintillating, but I think we'll win the game. And we'll kick on, and but between these games that we need to get through, we do need to get real quality injected into the squad to put us at least back to the same level that we were at, because we're definitely weaker than we were at this point last season, and that's obviously due to players being unavailable and players being sold.
It feels that way, and it shouldn't be that way. As league holders, like, I think you should really go from strength to strength if you're title winners, and any outgoings that have a significant impact on what you have in your squad. Like, I really feel like there should be a replacement right there and then. Like, if not within a few weeks within the pre-season, and there just hasn't been that. And that's just it's something. It's hard to watch Celtic where they do sell these players. Like,
in a perfect world, it would be, but for some reason we just don't seem to adopt that strategy, and it's frustrating. Year on year to go through this, year on year to ask the same questions, and ultimately, have radio silence, and Brendan calling the board out in seasons, basically saying we need more quality. So hopefully it happens, but I'm sure that we'll be heading towards the end of August. And we'll just be praying at some point. Can we just get a loan deal in? Can we just get a loan? You know what I mean? It's just that pattern feels all too familiar, which is
not quite an established name, but a recognisable name that comes in through the doors who you can
just someone that
definitely
improves
get
us.
behind. You know.
Yeah, someone that we know improves us. You know what I mean? Like Katie improves us. Fair play.
Yeah.
Great deal. Nigren, Osman, Duan, Inamura, Yamada. Do any of them improve us? Who knows?
This is it. It's fucking scary, but well, look, let's try and keep ourselves optimistic for the season. It feels like we're both in the same position in some sense, but in different aspects. If you know what I mean.
Optimistic limbo, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly. That's it.
You want to be optimistic because you can see the start of the season. We've missed football. We've missed that tribalism of watching your team every week and being lucky enough to come on here and talk utter shit and give ridiculous opinions that fucking no one agrees with. But hey ho,
Season 5's gonna be fucking great, lads. I'll tell you that. That's for sure. You know what I mean? Right, Gondor, pick us up, mate. Pick us up, mate. Is there something over this pre-season that has really caught your eye? Is there something that is
pre-season? Not so much. When you guys are on your pre-season, that's when I actually pay more attention to my team.
Oh yeah. Well, yeah, of course. Obviously,
that's picked me up a bit over the last couple of weeks.
Has been in full flow.
Man.
Obviously, we can disregard. I'm not going to say it because I'll get cancelled. But York Gordon, what stood out for you recently? I know York Gordon recently won casually by 6-1 against Häcken.
Last night.
Yeah. But the league position doesn't really quite.
No, the league position's not
that result, does it?
The league position's not the best, but we're not out of it yet. I mean, we're 8 points behind Icor, who are our nearest rivals in the league that are above us. And
where are they in the league?
4th.
Fuck me.
You're good in at 8th.
Oh, I know Hammarby are second, and
Hammarby are second.
To give them something
to
sing about is going to be a big thing for your Gordon fans for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, not going to lie, quite impressed the team that's first. Mjällby, they've kind of come out of nowhere. They're not a shit team by any means. They've been Allsvenskan standard for years, but I've never seen them fighting for the top. So it's actually a very exciting league this season. And I am keeping track of the Göteborg-Elfsborg game as well because
I can tell.
If Göteborg lose, then we're equal on points with them. And we're actually better on goal difference, so we'll go up to 7th. Unfortunately, Göteborg...
Yeah, from 8th.
Yeah. But unfortunately, Göteborg are winning, so... but yeah,
well,
we've had some good games recently. Like you said, the 6-1 yesterday. 3 weeks ago, we won 5-1, and another victory in there. We lost to Elfsborg last week,
but Elfsborg again are another team that have been very competitive though in the Allsvenskan in recent years.
Oh yeah, and as I say, even with the current result, Elfsborg are still above Göteborg in the table. So
yeah.
No, I'm enjoying. I'm enjoying the football that York Gordon are playing, and I'm very happy because the last time I spoke about them, I was criticising their finishing. So I'm quite happy to say that bit's turned around.
Yeah. I tell you what, though, boys. Speaking of Sweden, I was hoping this at the end of season 4. Arsenal Football Club has signed a fucking striker. At long last, Arsenal have signed a striker. Swedish international from Sporting Lisbon, Victor Gyökeres. About fucking time. your
Good player.
goons. Yeah, he's alright, isn't he? Yeah. Only the highest fucking scorer in European football last season, but yeah, Mayhem. What again, it must be a bit of a relief for you as well, where you showed signs of frustration last season with Arsenal lacking that number 9 position.
Yeah, I think they needed a striker. I think he was their second choice. I think their actual first choice was
You
Benjamin
reckon
Sesko.
Seshko was the first
I
choice?
think I think so. From all the noise we heard, and then obviously the price tag come out, and Leipzig wanted 90 odd million euro, and I think that's put them off a bit. Gyökeres looks like it's going to be done for roughly about 60 million, which in today's market is a pretty decent
It's not
price.
bad, is it? Yeah.
I think he's a risk. I think you're looking at a guy that scored buckets of goals, but he has done it in the Portuguese league. Um, he's scored a ton of penalties in those goals. He is maybe not suited. If you look at a lot of his goals, it's powerful running, it's transition football. I'm copying and pasting a lot of shit that experts have said, but it's true. And Arsenal aren't really that. So I think he's maybe got a bit of adapting to do in order to time his run to make sure he's in the right place. I think it's going to be slightly alien to him, so he may struggle at first, considering when they've signed him and he's not going to have that full pre-season to embed it. He might struggle at first. And if he scores 15 goals this season, then it's been a success for him, because that's only what they need. They need someone
Yeah.
to get those 15 league goals, allow everyone around to support. Can Odegaard go and get his 10 goals? Can Saka get those 10 goals and support? I can't understand, and maybe there's a valid reason to it, but I can't really understand why no one's interested in Ollie Watkins. I think that would have been perfect. I know he's 30, but in this day and age, he's got a couple of really good years ahead of him. You're signing a guy that's an absolute shoo-in to score a decent amount of goals. They seemed to be interested in him before it all went quiet. But yeah, they filled the void.
Yeah, they obviously, he was one of the two names that they had their eye on, Arsenal, and that was Seshko and Gyökeres, and they got their second choice in Gyökeres, and yeah, I'm a little, you can't tell when it comes to them making the step into the Premier League, because of course we're very familiar with Gyökeres when he had his time in the Championship with Coventry, and so you saw that physicality, that aggression, but then he went to Sporting, where again he took his goal tally up another level, but again the pace of the football and the style of play out there, of course, is going to be drastically different in comparison to the Premier League, and so it feels like he's going to have to combine those two factors into his his way of playing, and that is the physicality and that's the pace that he can demonstrate every now and then. And I'd like I feel like he's more set up to succeed than fail more than anything. I do feel he'll hit 15 goals at least. I can see that, but again, we don't know when it comes to the first whistle of game one. We don't know what it's going to be like.
Yeah, I think he'll do well. I just think it's a bit of a risk when you could have probably gone and signed someone that's more of a sure thing. But look, Gyökeres wanted to go to Arsenal. He made it clear, which I'm sure was a massive incentive to go and sign him, because he wanted to come. He has that pedigree. He's played in English football before and been successful, albeit a different type of league, a far more physical league. So we know he has that about him. But again, if you look in the Championship, how many of those Coventry goals are in transition, is in bursting away. Like how many teams? I can see Gyökeres being the type of player that does really, really well in big games for Arsenal, against the Cities, against the Liverpools, because they're pushing up and allowing him that space to go in behind. And he could struggle early doors against, a Sunderland that wants to come in and pack out the defence and doesn't want to give him a lot of room.
Yeah,
He
like
could struggle with.
Dan Ballard isn't going to give him the space and freedom to do what he does.
Yeah, so he could struggle. He could not. There was a lot of question marks on Haaland, and I think they were similar-ish players when Haaland left Borussia Dortmund and went to City. I think there was a lot of question marks similarly around. He likes to score goals in transition. He likes to utilise that physicality and that speed that he has. And he shut everyone up because he scored about 50,000 goals in his first 2 games. So Gyökeres could do the same. I think he may struggle against the lesser teams, just the way that we see Arsenal struggle with that low block last season.
Yeah.
I don't think Madueke is a great signing, but again, I could be proven wrong.
He was an interesting signing as well. I mean, because you look at him on paper, like he's English for a start. He's still a young player who did well at PSV, I think he was, prior to Chelsea, and then I think he's just too much of a flash in the pan for my liking. He's got the potential, by all means, to be a top class winger, but I think that was, it was, because I like Madueke. I think he's a great character and he's good to have in the dressing room, but when it comes to his performance on the pitch, like it's too touch and go with him, and I think Arsenal could have explored somewhere.
Yeah, you think of the names that were being spoken about. Back in January, they were talking about Koeman, and then they were talking about Rodrigo from Madrid, and then they were talking about
Rodrigo
Eze.
would have been a better option to go with,
Oh, 100%. And then they were talking about Eze from Palace, and then they've landed Madueke. And people may say
fee for him as well.
People may say Madueke's back up for Saka. I don't think he is. I think he will start. You paid 50 million for the guy. I think he'll start on the left.
Yeah.
In which case, I think Eze is a better option. I think Rodrigo was potentially a striker option. I don't think they would have played him on the left. He normally plays on the right for Madrid, and he's clearly not going to replace Saka.
That would have been a Gabby Jesus situation waiting to happen. That would have been.
Yeah, I think they were maybe looking at him striker realm. Kingsley Coman, there was chat about him. Leroy Sané's on the market, or was on the market. I don't know if anyone's snapped him up. I think there was options there rather than Madueke, and I think he will start on the left. And I think for the money that they've paid, they could have got someone better. I think if they'd have gone and if they'd have paid 10 million, 15 million pound extra and gone and got Eze, I think that's a better player than Madueke. It's more mature. Obviously massive in that game for Palace when they won the FA Cup, and I think it probably feels the right time for him to move on. He's an Arsenal fan as well, so it'd be a dream come true. And they may still go do that. I don't think they will, because they've spent a lot of money. So I don't think they're going to go and be able to afford the Eze deal, but they might do. But I think that would have been a better option coming off that left.
Yeah, no, 100%. No, I completely agree. And like you said, like the finances are going to be a big factor in that. And like I said, I think Madueke has the potential to be a good player. I think he's just a little bit too predictable in the way he plays, a style of player where he shifts onto his right and then he'll take a little cut in onto the left and then shift it onto his right again. It's very Andros Townsend sort of vibes from him, I feel.
I think the level of play, the fact that Chelsea have sold him to Arsenal, right? Chelsea will know that Arsenal will be at the top end of the table. They'll know that they'll be competing against them.
They'll be laughing right now with that deal.
The fact they're happy to let him go to someone that's going to be a direct rival to them in the league, it speaks volumes about where they think that player's at. They're not going to let even if all of a sudden Arsenal come in and bid 150 million for Cole Palmer, they wouldn't sell him. to Arsenal. So I think it speaks volumes that they've said, "You want Madueke? Yeah, fine, take Madueke. We're going to go."
There's two ways. There's two ways you can look at it. Like you're like, okay, right, we'll let you have Madueke because we want to make space for Esteval, who's coming in, who obviously was one of the shining stars of the Club World Cup. I don't know, or it's the case of that. Well, he isn't actually that good of a player when we first signed him. So you're giving us 50 odd million for him.
Even if you're just trying to make space, you wouldn't sell to a direct rival with the hope, with the knowledge that if he's good enough, he's going to cause you problems.
They've done it before, though. They have done it before.
But who?
Well, I mean, the player that's come to between Arsenal and Chelsea. I mean, there was who was it? Yossi Benayoun who went there again.
Yeah, dog shit. Willian. Dog shit. Raheem Sterling, dog shit. That's what I mean. All these players, Chelsea fucking rejects, dog shit. That's why they let them go to Arsenal. They're not selling them their top stars and saying, "Yeah, go on."
If Madueke was any good, they'd sell him either to someone where he's not going to make a difference.
Well, the place he's
or
you go to,
or they're going to sell him abroad.
Yeah.
Probably
they are.
He's a decent footballer, but I don't think he's the level of footballer that they feel is going to put up numbers that's going to have any material impact on Arsenal's season. And they've gone and signed that Gittins from Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, but he's not, I don't think he's a dog shit player though. Like in comparison with the names we've mentioned just then, I don't think Madueke is a dog shit player. I think he's below average, but he's not dog shit. I think he's someone who can still make a difference. But again, selling to Arsenal has not been unfamiliar, regardless. And with Chelsea bringing in, like you said, like Bino Gittins coming in and Esteval coming in, Chelsea they're a very buying club at the moment. And so I don't know if that factor comes in terms of like, well, if we want to bring him in and we want to give him the opportunity to play, then we got to shift someone. And whether Madueke falls beneath the latter, I don't know.
We're talking about a player here and he's obviously was signed in the January window, 12 appearances, 1 goal. Next season, 23 appearances, 5 goals, 2 assists. Last season, 32 appearances, 7 goals, 3 assists. That's bang average.
Yeah, he's dog shit. Right, anyway. Right, Liverpool are linked with Isak, right?
Yeah, that's
they're crap. They are crap statistics,
That's a Swedish player to talk about.
Isak, he is. Yeah. And you know what?
He's Slatin's crown, isn't he? He's putting Slatin's crown on.
He is, mate. He knows he's God right now. And we spoke of, and you brought up a perfect name there, Mayhem, in the name of Ollie Watkins, who's been there, has produced great results. Again, Isak has done the same. I feel Ollie Watkins will cost, I don't know, about as little as 100 million less. Don't get me wrong, not taking anything away from Isak. I think he's a top class player. He's performed well when he's not injured at Newcastle, and
about 120 mil.
150, mate.
150?
50 mil Newcastle were demanding. Now Liverpool have obviously just gone out and signed Hugo Ekitike. Got that pronunciation down to a T.
And just sold Luis Diaz.
Diaz has just gone to Bayern Munich as well,
with the expectation that Darwin Núñez will be following him out the door, which tells me they think they're going to do it.
They're building up funds.
They are. But it feels like Isak kind of wants that move as well.
Oh, 100% he wants it, mate. And again, we've spoken. There's no way that Liverpool offload Diaz, offload Núñez if they haven't spoken to Isak, tapped him up, and said, "Come on, look, we're the champions of England. We're going again, mate. We're going to win it all. We want you to be our number 9. Come down the road." No fucking way. So he wants it. He wants to go. He wants to go and potentially win the league. Newcastle are hampered by PSR, this bullshit rule that just keeps the elite clubs the elite. And what what bargaining chips do Newcastle have? They could stand strong. They don't need the money. If PSR wasn't a thing, they could spend whatever the fuck they want. They don't need money. You know what I mean? They've the Saudi royal family in charge, so they could just say, "Nah, fuck you." I don't think they will, though.
No, I think they'll stand firm. I think Newcastle are in a good position to not let him go either. With Isak still having, he's got 3 years left on his contract. They can obviously demand the highest fee possible for him.
Do you think they will get 150 for him?
Well, yeah, it won't be up front. That's not how.
No. I know that.
Be, no.
I know that. I mean, I play FM enough to know about the instalments and all the other.
It'll be structured in a deal that could eventually reach 150 million.
So they pay up about 90 up front. It'll be about 90 odd up front.
It'll be. And look, that opens them up to go and sign players, and they're hampered. They can't buy and spend all that money that they have because of PSR. So if they sell Isak, all of a sudden that opens the door to be able to go and finalise maybe Visser, who they're talking about, who's doing the exact same shit that Isak's doing. All the Newcastle fans were enraged about that Isak's doing to Newcastle. Visser's doing the same shit to Brentford to try and go to Newcastle.
Well, I heard that Visser's done the same thing though as he's done the same thing as Isak, but I think Newcastle have just given in terms of signing him. I think they've accepted, like, Brentford don't want to sell him. Obviously, they let Mbeumo go to United for 70 million, and they don't want to. They don't want to let go of Visser as well. So I don't know. Again, if they were to bring in Visser, maybe that will give a little bit of leeway for Liverpool to negotiate with Newcastle for Isak, but it doesn't seem likely at the moment.
Or they go after Benjamin Sesko. You know what I mean? He's the option there, and he's what Isak probably was a few years ago. You can build the project around him if you can sell it to him. Champions League football, come and play in the Premier League, blah blah blah. And Newcastle don't give a fuck about money, do they? 90 million, sweet, bang. Who gives a fuck? But if they sell Isak, then they need to get that Benjamin Sesko profile project player in, because otherwise Guimaraes and Tonali and all these boys can be looking around going, what the fuck's going on here?
They need to have him like Peter Odemwingie style in his fucking car in the car park, waiting to come into the building and go, yep, you're good to go. That's what they've got to do.
Yeah. And potentially, if they do sell Isak, then they land probably the guy that's been their number one target for the last 2 seasons, in Mark Gay. They haven't been able to finalise that deal. They haven't been able to get it over the line for whatever reason. Again, if they sell Isak, then they probably go out and land their number one target that they've been chasing.
That died off a bit though. When he linked with Liverpool for like 2-3 weeks,
and
that just disappeared.
Yeah, I think Liverpool go all out on Isak. Obviously, look with the tragic scenario around Shota losing his life.
May rest in peace, Diogo Jota.
They have obviously a massive void up front that they'll want to fill. I think next season's going to be one full of raw emotion for Liverpool off the back of obviously that. So I don't think the board clearly aren't holding back, and I think they'll go and stump up the funds to make that happen. I fully expect come the end of August, Alexander Isak will be a Liverpool player, wearing the number 7.
Number 7, yeah, taking Diaz's number.
I think so. And then you look at that. I don't think they need to do anything at left mid. Cody Gakpo, I think, proved last season that he's more than capable. Ekitike and Isak, Salah, fucking just absolute. Florian Wirtz, they can even play him off the left if they wanted to.
They could play him in the attacking line, man. It's just ridiculous.
It's a big moves from there. They've got Frimpong in, Kirkes in. Yeah, big moves.
Yeah, I'm going to make my Rory Jennings quote right now. I feel that Ekitike is going to be the next Darwin Nunez. I don't know why. I've just got a feeling. Like I've watched him again you can't go off much from YouTube clips or whatever, and you know that's been a recent trend on Twitter is showing top strikers who are in demand. Oh, this is their last 40 shots they had, or their last 30 shots they've had, whatever. With Ekitike, I've just got I don't know, I've got a bit of a doubt about him. Don't know what it is, but that's my bold statement. I'm all here come May to be proved wrong. I love to be proved wrong, but you know, I don't know. I just got a bad feeling about him. But
My bold statement is Arsenal finish 4th.
okay.
My bold statement is I'll watch more than 10 games of football this season.
Fuck off! You're delusional. Ah.
Yeah, no, I am not going to make a bold statement. I've not followed football close enough for the last few seasons.
No, we know you've openly admitted that, and
Yeah.
we still accept you here, though.
I am actually looking to watch more this season, though. That's why I said to you earlier, Fenton, about finding a pub to watch the Cardiff game on Saturday.
Yeah, so you can tick one off for the fucking year, yeah.
Absolutely. No, but I especially between the League One and Scottish Prem, I want to try and get more games so I can actually join in with the conversations a bit more.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I hope you do, mate.
Just in case you're wondering, the teams that finish above Arsenal: Liverpool, City, Chelsea.
I can be in agreement with that. I think I can. Yeah, I think Chelsea I think they've signed too well this summer to not be within that top 4, if I'm honest. With Arsenal's sake, it all falls on Gyökeres's goal tally, if I'm honest. But you're guaranteed to have Liverpool and City there. City have signed well, Liverpool have signed well, and so have Chelsea. But you know, if Gyökeres doesn't deliver, then by all means, I think the other 3 are guaranteed to find themselves up there. So,
Indeed.
you know. Anyway, let's move on over. Well, we had that Football Manager Challenge at the end of last season, and the goal was to win the Champions League. Well, long story short, did you win it, Stu?
Yeah.
Did you win it, Mayhem?
Nah.
Didn't touch it. Yeah, I won it twice. Thank you and good night.
So did I, you dickhead.
Well, to be fair, me and Mayhem have actually started a new save together. I mean, Mayhem started before me, and that was to do the challenge of getting Cardiff back up into the big time, and having a lot of fun with that at the moment.
Yeah, it's going well.
Going all right, yeah. I'm in my second season and in the top half. Not quite fighting playoffs at the moment, but had a lot of money to spend based on the sales I made, which were ridiculous. So we'll see how that goes and keep tabs on it, I guess.
Well, we can discuss next week about whether we want to start one up or do something a little bit different.
Yeah.
And see where we go. But you boys definitely in the end were clear on the Ligue 1 challenge. My Marseille one died.
It's alright.
I kept mine going.
Yeah, you're still going. I won it and I was like, yep, goodbye, good night.
No, I've kept mine going because you had your unbeaten season.
Oh, yeah, I did.
In the league. So now I'm looking to do it.
Yep.
So.
Quadruple season, that's it. That's where it's at, mate. That's what you want to get. Yeah.
I'm getting there.
You're getting there, man.
Looking at 5 trophies this season.
Oh, 5 quintuple. Show off. But look, boys, we're going to end it there. Look, thank you as always for joining me this evening. Good to open up season 5. Good to see that we've come this far, if I'm completely honest. We're going strong, and long may it continue. But as always, thank you both. Ladies and gents, thank you very much for tuning in. If you are new to the Football Blue podcast, we are available on all audio platforms, including Spotify, Apple, and Audible. If you're watching us over on YouTube, please don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications. Until next time, ladies and gents, I bid you all good night and the star.